Hey everyone.
Hey.
So today we have a goodie for you guys. We're going to talk about tips for first-time cruisers, and we've been looking at a lot of content, and we've realized that a lot of these first-time tips are dated from pre-pandemic times, and we just wanted to update this a little bit for you guys, just so y'all could get basically all the recent information currently, because things are ever changing with COVID, that you need to know about cruising. And so, Carl?
Things are allowed or not allowed. So, like the 12 pack of water bottles, those aren't allowed. Plastics, you can't bring those on the ship. But, however, you can bring the can, like the seltzer water, the Cokes, what else? Diet Coke.
Or any canned juice.
Canned juice. Pretty much you can bring those. Irons, you can't bring those with you. But if you need one, you can find that in the laundry room, but you have to go there early because sometimes there's generally a line.
Or you can also bring a steamer.
Yes, because the last cruise we went on, I actually packed a steamer. I started doing that on every trip I go to. I bring my little steamer, steam my stuff, so I don't have to wait on other people. Other things that's not allowed, like coffee makers or your actual spirits. You want to explain why?
So any spirits like vodka, whiskey, etc., etc. And the reason why is because the most dangerous thing to a cruise ship is fire, and so those are flammable materials. But just a FYI, you can pre-buy them prior to cruising, and then they will deliver those spirits to your stateroom.
Yes, and you pre-purchase it through the fun shop.
On Carnival, but for other cruise lines it may be a different way, so just make sure you do your research on how to do those pre-purchasing. The next tip is a tip that is very important, which is basically fly down prior to the day that you sail out. The reason being is that the cruise waits for nobody. So if your flight is delayed on the day of, then it will leave you. And so in order to avoid that, it's just better for you to fly the day or days before. Make a little vacation out of it prior. And that way you'll be less stressed on ensuring that you're making it on debarkation date.
All right. So the next one, print all your documents. Always have your documents. I know some people would like to have it electronically, like my wife. I like to have paper copies, of course. Old school on that one. I like to hold the documents in my hands because your phone might be dead by the time you get on the ship or in the line to check in. So, yeah. Anyway, you print out all your documents. With Carnival, when you book your cruise, fill out all your information. Carnival has this process that's called Verify. You can upload all your stuff, your COVID test, your COVID card, your passport. They have you upload pictures. You have all your documents you upload on there, so you can speed up the process and not have to wait in line and have a extended check-in process.
Just to piggyback what Carl was saying about Verify, the cool thing about that is if you do it properly, it will also allow you to know like your COVID testing protocols, and we'll talk more about that at the end of the video. So be sure that you watch the video in its entirety. We know a lot of you guys have questions on COVID testing and cruise lines COVID protocols. But basically, embarkation was so easy the last time that we used Verify. Like, we didn't have to pull out any documents other than our passports. And basically, it was probably like 5 minutes total. And you'll be happy, and the workers will be happy as well.
They were ecstatic.
So the next one is very important. Is download whatever cruise line app that particular cruise line has prior to basically boarding the cruise ship. So in what we call embarkation days. So if you keep hearing me say embarkation, it just means that you're actually boarding the ship. The reason being is because, especially post-pandemic, a lot of the cruise lines rely heavily, especially Carnival with their Carnival Hub app. They rely heavily on the app. It will tell you ship time. It will also tell you all the activities and things to do on the days of your cruise.
All right. So we have the cheer package. If you don't know what the cheer package is, it's a pre-purchase package for like your premium drinks or certain beverages like coffee or hand squeeze juices, smoothies of that, things of that nature. There's plus or minuses on the cheer package. We have not done the cheer package yet, but if you're a big drinker, you like drinking a lot, that might be an option for you. You are entitled to 15 drinks a day on the cheer package, and those drinks can include alcohols, the coffee, the spike coffee,
or any specialty drinks like what Carl was listing before, like any fresh squeezed juices, smoothies, etc.
Yes.
I do want to add that the cheer package is a Carnival specific alcoholic drinking program, but other cruise lines have a lot of things similar to that. Like Royal Caribbean will have something similar. Some cruise lines actually might have where basically they are all inclusive, meaning alcohols as well. I think Norwegian, it's either Norwegian or MSC. One of them is all their alcohol is included. But for Carnival and Royal, you will have different drinking package. So even though it's considered an all-inclusive cruise, what they mean all-inclusive is your standard food and your standard drinks. Which on Carnival, that's just like tea and lemonade during lunch and dinner, and obviously water. I mean, we need water.
Breakfast, you get apple juice and orange juice,
and coffee. So. But it's like basic coffee, not any premium coffee.
Yeah, just burnt coffee.
So yeah, and so just another piggyback is these packages that we're going to mention. It's cheaper for most cruise lines to buy them prior to sailing. They'll actually give you a discount. During sailing itself, it'll actually inflate in the cost. So if you know that you are going to hit that 15, like Carl was saying, for Carnival or whatever Royal Cruise Line's policy is, make sure you pre-buy it, like prepay for it, because it does get way more expensive, not cheaper, way more expensive when you buy it on the boat on the day of embarkation day. And so we move on to the internet package. The internet package operates similar to basically like the alcoholic beverage package. Basically with that, you might have multiple plans. Most cruise lines do. And the same thing that goes along with that is cheaper to prepay it prior to sailing than it is on a boat. You can pay for it on a boat. It just will be more expensive as well. And so if you feel like that you need to be on your phone because you do not want to incur international fees, make sure that you basically purchase the proper internet package.
All right. So cash. On a ship, your cash is kind of useless other than tipping. So everything is done on your card that they give you when you get on the ship, and you can purchase alcohol. You get in and out the ship with your ship card. So that's like your best friend on a ship. So with the cash, how much money should you bring? You know, do you want to bring big bills or singles? I would suggest do a little bit of everything, mostly singles, so you can tip your steward. You can tip the bartender, but know that you already paid for a tip when you buy the drink. So that $18 that you pay for the drink, it's already included in tips with it. So if you double tip, that's good. They appreciate it, and they might look out for you, you know, on some of the drinks. So just to know, it's just something to know. You know, you really don't need the cash like that on the ship, but on the port, it's better to have cash on your hands because you can negotiate whatever price you want if you have cash versus trying to swipe for something. They're more willing to work with you if you have cash.
And just to piggyback on the ship card that Carl was mentioning, I know a lot of you guys are first time cruisers, and so you're probably still wondering like what is a ship card. It looks like a hotel key, like how you are in any hotel room, but what the difference between this operates so much more. So it operates as your room key, but also operates as like a credit or debit card. So this will be the thing that you will use to swipe to spend. Like let's say you want to buy a gift, you will use that card. All right, your actual credit card, debit card, or what have you will be connected to that card. So make sure it's sacred. It's also something that you will use to get off the boat and back on the boat. If you don't have it, then it will be a hassle for them to figure out whether or not you belong to them. Because what happens is once they scan or swipe that card, your face pops out, whatever proper identification that you use. Like for example, when we sailed on a Carnival Liberty last month, our passport photos were automatically connected to that ship card. So they knew that basically we were who we said we were and weren't like stowaways or people trying to, hop on a boat. So, the next tip is basically if you want to save money, book an excursion with a third-party vendor. Now, this comes with a caveat to this, and the caveat is if you do so, you are not protected if the excursion runs late. So I just want to stress that enough. So if you are a first-time cruiser, I would say spend a little bit of that extra money until you become more of a veteran cruiser and book an excursion through your ship. Because basically, if the excursion runs late and you booked it through your ship, the ship will not leave you. But, like I said, if you do want to go to the cheaper route, then you can book a shore excursion. And what I mean by shore excursion, just in case you guys are wondering, that is basically any activities that you want to do on the ports of call. So, for example, when we went to Bimini, you want to explain, baby?
When we went to Bimini, we did an excursion at Resort World. So we got off the ship, caught the trolley and went to Resort World, checked in, went to the beach, had the beach chair, the drinks, and we're there for a couple hours and then we went back. But if we didn't book it through Carnival, we'll have to keep track of the time because they don't have a way to contact the ship to tell the ship that we're running late an hour or two. And because if you book it through a third party, the ship will leave you. They will have to buy sell party without you. But if you book the excursion through the ship, then they'll contact the ship and tell them that they're going to be running late, and the ship will wait. So they're not going to leave without you if you book the excursion through the ship.
So there are definitely pros and cons. So like I said, if you want to save money, yes, book it with a third party. But just know you definitely have to keep in track of ship time. But my strong advice for first-time cruisers is go ahead and spend that extra money, book it through the ship, just so you're used to basically how shore excursions operate and how basically getting off and on the boat operates. And then when you do become more of a veteran cruiser, then you'll know basically what to do and the ins and outs on how to do it.
Yeah. So with the youth program policy, Carnival has the what's that?
Camp Ocean.
Camp Ocean, And that's from age 5 to 12, I believe.
Currently, so Camp Ocean is actually age 5 all the way up to I think it's 17.
17.
Yes, so they have
Okay.
multiple youth programs.
Yeah. So right now, ages 2 through 4, I don't think they're allowing them to be in the camp program. That's with Carnival. Um, and we went on a cruise a couple weeks ago, and the kids they actually stayed, went to the Camp Ocean. They loved it. My son, he's 5 years old, so he met the actual threshold for the actual camp, and it's a nice thing. You get some time alone to explore the ship without the kids, and then the kids have time away from you to explore and just socialize and make new friends and have fun.
So when we sailed, basically all kids had to be vaccinated, which is the reason why the ages 2 through 4. And when I'm talking about when we sailed, we're referring to Carnival because actual Royal Caribbean did not have that, and basically ages 2 through 17 were able to basically attend their youth programs. But on Carnival, because the United States vaccination laws is only open for ages 5 and up for children. Ages 2 for 4 could not attend. Now, pre-pandemic, they would be able to attend, and we all know how COVID rules are. In the future, they might be able to attend. But now, Carnival has lifted that vaccination rule for ages 5 through 17. So now, regardless of your vaccination status for children, the children can attend Camp Ocean for Carnival as well as Royal Caribbean. But like I said, the only difference for Carnival, ages 2 through 4 currently cannot attend, whereas Royal Caribbean, they can. So just be careful about that. Make sure you know basically the youth camp's policy when you make your decision on booking a cruise.
So, moving on. Once you're on the boat, first time cruisers, this is important. Please remember that. This is important. You don't want any surprises when you get back home. When you get on the ship, put your phone on airplane mode, and the reason for that is when you actually leave, your phone starts roaming. You want to see that bill the next month and just get pissed off. So make sure you put that phone on airplane mode, just like you do on the airplane when you go in the air. Just turn it off on airplane mode and disconnect from the world.
Yeah, so I agree. It's very important. I still like to make phone calls because obviously the ships tend to not sail away until like 4 to 5 p.m. depending on your port. You like your embarkation port. But so make all the necessary phone calls that you need to make, and then as soon as you're done, like Carl has said, please put your phone in airplane mode or else you will incur international charges and fees. And that is not fun because some of these cell phone companies are very stingy and they will rob you. I've heard stories of people being charged $800+ just because somebody either in their family did not put it on airplane mode, like part of their family plan, or they themselves. So just be careful. So especially if you have teenagers, make sure your teenagers are knowledgeable and are aware of that process. The next tip that we have is basically make sure your phone and watch is sync to the ship time. Now the great thing is with most of these cruise lines, they do have it to where you download their app, and so on the app itself will have the ship time on there and it will forever be the ship time. So all you have to do is just check the time on the app. Also, this is another benefit of why you want to put your phone in airplane mode. Is because once you put your phone in airplane mode, your phone will be locked in on ship time. So those are two big benefits on reason why you put your phone in airplane mode. But when in doubt, if you feel like that there might be an issue, just check the app. Like for example, Carnival Hub app actually has to where they have the ship time as soon as you basically pull up the app, and you'll be able to see and know.
Next thing you want to do once you get on the ship is to familiarize yourself with the ship, and by that I mean know where the aft and the forward of the ship location is. Uh, certain areas you can only access them through certain floors, like the dining room. You can't go through the middle of the ship. You have to access it through, what's that, the fourth or the third level?
Either above or below the ship.
Okay, yeah. So um that, and then for adults, if it's your first time cruising with Carnival, they do have a pool area strictly for adults 21 and up. It's called Serenity, and depending on the ship, the location varies, but just make sure you know that there is a adult only pool area, so you're not around all those little kids diving and running around. You're alone with other adults, just relaxing.
And just to add on, just know most cruise lines do have an adult area, not just Carnival. So just make sure you get to know whatever their adult area is. So basically, you can avoid the little babies if you are traveling without kids, or even if you are traveling with kids and you just want to avoid the children for a little bit. But the next tip is to basically know the show times of the various shows and activities that you plan on attending, and make sure you get there early enough to get good seating. This might sound like common sense, but unfortunately, we're on vacation. So these ships, they're very strict when it comes to time. They tend to basically start on time and end on time. Same thing about making sure you get back to your ship when you're on port. So I just want to stress enough about that. Ships tend to run strictly on time. So make sure you get to whatever activity that you're doing on the ship or even off early.
Yes. So with Carnival, the comedy show, they generally fill up quick. So if you want a good seating, you have to get there early. With the actual
Showtime, yeah, the actual like Broadway like singing show.
The showtime, if you actually want a good seating, get there early so you can have the preferred seat that you want when you show up. I know with other cruise line, they have you pre-book it, so you get on a list ahead of time, so you can go on the show. And if you're not on the list, you can either get on the wait list, or you're not even allowed to get on the show. So depending on what cruise line you go to, the rules of varies. Carnival, it's not like that, so it's like first come first serve. So just get there early so you can make sure you have your own space.
Yeah, so just let me clarify. There are some activities that Carnival will make you actually reserve, is what Carl's referring to. But when it comes to like the comedy show as well as the actual showtime itself on Carnival, those are, like he said, first come, first serve. But yeah, like he was saying, other cruise lines, definitely make sure you're doing your reservations. Is important. So the next tip on basically what to do when you're on a ship is, a lot of people tend not to understand that when we are referring to all-inclusive, or when the ship is referring to all-inclusive, they mean that you can order as much food as you want. In the buffet areas, the free dining spots, such as the main dining room area. Now, what I will have a caveat to, obviously, if you're doing a specialty dining and you're paying like extra charge, then you can't order everything that you want. It's whatever is on that menu for you to order is on the order. But in the free dining areas, you can eat as much as you want, regardless if they give you pushback or not. So if you want to try 2 entrees, be my guest. If you want to try 2 appetizers, be my guest. You can do whatever you want on the free dining spaces. A little bit different for the specialty dining areas that do have an extra charge, but for the free dining spaces, eat as much as you please.
All right, so here's a good tip. Carnival, well, most cruise ships allow you to bring in a bottle of liquor, or I guess I should say wine or champagne. Carnival allows you to bring one 750 milliliter bottle of champagne or wine per person per stateroom. So two two bottles max for a stateroom. So if you have 3 people over the age of 21, you can only bring 2 bottles max for that room.
So what we're trying to say is make sure you do your research, because that is Carnival's policy, but the other cruise lines policy might be a little bit different. But like Carl was stating, most cruise lines will allow you to bring a bottle of wine per adult of age.
And it has to be a carry-on.
Yes. The next tip might sound like another common sense tip is, obviously it might be very overwhelming with all the activities that the cruise is basically providing for you day to day, but we just want to let you know is you do not have to feel obligated in doing all those activities. So choose the ones that you would like, because there will be certain fun activities that might run around the same time, so obviously you won't be able to go to both, but just don't feel obligated. And a lot of times too is some of these activities do tend to repeat themselves on a boat, especially on longer cruise durations, like 5+ days of cruising.
Yes.
And so now we have our bonus tip, which is a lot of what you guys has been asking is about COVID testing and cruising and what those policies are. So basically, we're just going to give you these bonus tips. I hope you guys did stay tuned to the end. And for the ones who are watching, thank you for staying tuned to the end. And we're just going to go ahead and answer some questions that we have compiled for you guys.
Before we answer it, if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. We really appreciate you subscribing. And also click on the notification bell so you can stay up to date with our content. We really appreciate you guys. So just drop a comment down below. Give us your feedback so we can continue to make the video better for you guys.
And also, if you know other first-time cruisers that are questioning about what's going on and what to do, don't forget to just share the link for them, and they can see this video as well and get all the tips and tricks that they need before cruising to make their cruise a very easygoing and memorable time.
Right. So COVID, for your COVID test, the results cannot be handwritten. They must be typed. I repeat, they cannot be handwritten. They have to be typed.
And in addition to the COVID test results, make sure that your name on your test results is the same as the name on whatever identification and whatever name that you're using as the cruiser. Make sure it also has the physician's name on there. You will also need to make sure that it has the proper date and the proper time of when the test was administered. And the next tip is basically, this is more so for Carnival specific. For Carnival, fully vaccinated, and for most cruise lines actually, fully vaccinated means basically that you have taken both doses. So round 1 and round 2. 14 days prior to sailing to make sure that basically your vaccine is effective. And so be sure. So if you haven't done that, then you will have to follow the unvaccinated policy, and the unvaccinated COVID testing policy tends to be vastly different than the vaccinated COVID testing policy, or the COVID testing policy for vaccinated individuals.
And that 14-day policy, it's 14 days before the embarkation day. So 14 days, and then the 15th day you can embark. So if you trying to do your embarkation on the 14th day, they may turn your arm around.
The next COVID testing tip is, if you are a fully vaxxed cruiser, and remember, fully vaxxed for most of these cruise lines means the first and second dose, not including boosters, then basically you have a choice on taking either your PCR test for your COVID testing or an antigen test. It's a little bit different for unvaxxed. They definitely have to take a PCR COVID test. And generally with your unvaccinated guests, you tend to take a PCR test about 2 or 3 days prior, and then you will have to take another test basically on the day of to ensure that you are not tested positive for COVID-19.
Okay, so with all that being said, do your research on the COVID testing and find out your requirement. generally at least 2 weeks prior to your selling date. So just make sure you do your due diligence so you don't have any surprises when it's time for you to go on your trip.
Yes, because every cruise line is different. And so, like Carl says, that would suck if you had surprises. We've been on a lot of cruise lines Facebook groups, and we've basically read a lot of horror stories of people who weren't aware of the actual specific COVID testing requirements, and then they weren't allowed to basically sail away. Like, for example, for the ones who are testing basically at port, like where the ship is leaving, you have to test at a particular time, because past that time they will not do any more testing, and therefore you more likely won't be able to board the ship. So please make sure you do your research so you do have an enjoyable time on a cruise ship, because cruising is so much fun and we know you will enjoy it yourself. So take a deep breath. I know it's a lot of tips, but now you guys are more knowledgeable than you were at the beginning of the video.
So with that being said, we'll see you on the ship.
All right. Say la vie.